Welcome back, beautiful soul. I want you to take a moment before we dive in, just one breath, one real one, and let yourself actually arrive here. Okay, so something has been asking for your attention quietly, persistently, the way a draft of cold air finds you through a wall you thought was solid. Not loud enough to alarm you, but consistent enough that you keep turning toward it, wondering where it's coming from. And what it's been trying to tell you is this: there is something on the other side of what you're currently holding on to, and it cannot reach you yet because your hands are still full. February 2026 carries a particular kind of energy, not the frantic, electric energy of a beginning, but something older, more deliberate. The energy of a tide pulling back before it surges. The energy of a forest in the moment just before the first green thing pushes through frozen ground. Still on the surface, enormous underneath. And you may be feeling that contradiction right now, the strange tension of something ending and something gathering, happening at the exact same time, inside the exact same life. Let me ask you something, and I want you to really sit with it. What are you still carrying that was never actually yours to carry? Not a mistake, not a failure, just something you picked up at some point, maybe out of love, maybe out of fear, maybe simply because no one else seemed willing to hold it, is less than hash zero. 5 hashes greater than. And you've been moving through your days with it ever since. So accustomed to the weight that you've forgotten it isn't part of you. This reflection invites you to consider: if you set down one thing you've been carrying that was never meant to be yours, what would your hands finally be free to reach for? Because making room, real room, is rarely the dramatic gesture we imagine it to be. We picture it as something grand, a declaration, a departure, a single decisive moment where everything shifts. But more often, it's smaller than that: a boundary spoken quietly, where before there was only silence; a habit gently released, where before there was only repetition; a version of yourself, outgrown and tender, finally allowed to rest. It's possible you've already begun this process without fully naming it. Something in you has already started clearing, rearranging the furniture of your inner life, making space in corners you'd stopped looking at. And the part of you that's watching this right now may already know exactly what still needs to go. Some people arrive at this kind of threshold after loss. Something ends a relationship, an identity, a belief they'd organized their whole world around, and in the hollow that follows, they discover, slowly and with some surprise, that the hollow isn't only grief. It's also possibility. It's also the first real silence they've had in years. And in that silence, they begin to hear things they'd long since stopped listening for. This reflection invites you to consider: what has a recent ending made room for that you haven't yet allowed yourself to acknowledge? There is something about February that strips things bare. The world outside is still winter spare, undecorated, honest in the way that only things stripped of excess can be honest. And maybe that's why this month has a way of clarifying what the busier seasons obscure, what actually matters, what was only noise, what you were tolerating because you didn't believe something better was available to you. Because here's what I want you to really hear: making room isn't only about what you release. It's about what that release declares. Every time you choose to put something down, you are making a statement about what you believe you deserve to pick up instead. And that belief, that quiet, private conviction about your own worth, is the thing that shapes everything that follows. Some of you watching this have been operating from a version of yourself that was formed in survival, a version that learned to make do, to compress, to need less, to ask for less, to expect less, because at some point, needing less felt safer than being disappointed again. And that version served you. It genuinely did. But it was always meant to be temporary, a shelter, not a home. This reflection invites you to consider, are you still living in the shelter, even though the storm that required it has long since passed? What's about to come, and something is coming. I want you to feel that it may not be able to find you in the shelter. It may be looking for you in a more open place, in the version of you that has stepped outside, that has lifted their face toward whatever is gathering on the horizon and said, with something close to courage, I'm ready. I've made room. I'm here. That readiness doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be certain. It can tremble a little at the edges. It can arrive alongside doubt, alongside old fears that haven't fully quieted yet. Readiness isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to move forward while the fear is still in the room with you. And you may be more ready than you're allowing yourself to believe. This reflection invites you to consider, what would you attempt, offer, begin, or open yourself to if you genuinely trusted that this version of you, exactly as you are right now, imperfect and uncertain and still becoming, was enough to receive what's coming? Because the thing that's gathering in the direction of your life in this particular February, in this particular season of clearing and becoming it, isn't waiting for a more polished version of you. It isn't holding itself back until you've healed every wound, resolved every question, earned every grace. It's moving toward this version, the one who showed up today, who pressed play, who is still here, still listening, still willing to consider that something remarkable might actually be possible. The power is yours. It always has been. Not the power to control what arrives, but the power to decide how much space you're willing to give it when it does. I make room for what's about to come, not eventually, now, in February 2026, in this quiet turning, in this deliberate, tender, brave act of letting go and leaning forward at the exact same time. Trust yourself with this. The clearing you've been doing, even the parts that hurt, even the parts that felt like loss, it was always preparation, not punishment. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What is one thing you're consciously making room for this February? And what's something you've been holding on to that you know deep down it's finally time to release? Share it below. This community holds space for all of it. See you in the next one. And listen, what's coming for you is looking for someone exactly like you. Don't make yourself hard to find. Take care.